If your organization feels chaotic, this video will change how you see it. Most leaders experience chaos as just noise, whiplash, fire after fire, random problems. But the truth is, organizational chaos is rarely random. It follows patterns. And once you can see the pattern, you can stop reacting and start diagnosing. Today, I'm going to show you the 4 most common root causes underneath organizational chaos and how to tell which one you're dealing with. When leaders misdiagnose chaos, they treat symptoms instead of the chaos itself. They add meetings, change structures, swap people, push harder. All that does is increase the friction. That friction turns into chaos bleed, lost margin, high turnover, slower execution, and leadership teams that start hedging their bets instead of committing. I've never seen an organization fail because their teams didn't work hard enough. I have seen plenty fail because leaders kept solving the wrong problems. So let's get to work. This is where the organizational pathology 2x2 comes in. We use the same 2x2 structure as the last model, but we ask a different question. This one's all about how does chaos show up and where does it come from? Across the bottom of this 2x2 is manifestation of chaos. Here, towards the beginning, we've got latent chaos. It's quiet, it's easy to rationalize. This is where leaders say things like, yeah, we should probably look at that. It's not a fire yet. Let's see how next quarter goes. On this side, chaos is urgent. Everyone can see it. Everyone can feel it. The board definitely feels it. So this is the first axis. On the y-axis, coming up here, this is our source of chaos. At the top here, the source is systemic. This is policies, processes, systems that are causing the chaos. At the bottom, we've got individual sources of chaos. This is behavior of people in the organization. Decisions that are being made causing the chaos. None of this is a moral judgment. Nothing is necessarily better or worse than another. It's just identifying the sources of chaos. So if we draw our middle points for each thing, we get our 2x2 quadrant. So up here in the upper left-hand quadrant, we have latent, kind of smoldering under the surface chaos that is caused by systemic things. I once worked with a company that couldn't understand why collaboration kept breaking down. Leaders were frustrated, teams were territorial, everyone blamed the culture. But when we looked closer, every single bonus metric, every single behavior metric, all incentives were tied to individual performance metrics. People weren't being selfish, they were being driven, their behavior was being driven by the incentives. So if you're getting behavior that you're not wanting to see, it's most likely the systemic, latent, quietly destructive, nothing's on fire, but progress never quite materializes quadrant here. And I label this one a made-up word that I think is perfect: misincentivization. So anytime you have behaviors en masse that you don't want to see, most likely it's driven by some kind of bad metric. Now, staying at the systemic level, if we go over here to the urgent systemic, let's contrast with the misincentivization. This is an executive team, announces a bold strategic priority, everyone nods, town hall stands up and applauds, and 6 months later, nothing has changed. Why? Because somewhere there's misalignment. No one adjusted goals, no systems changed, no one was accountable for translating strategy into execution. Somewhere there was a breakdown, a misalignment. Same system, but now it's urgent. Suddenly leaders are asking, why can't people just get on board? This is a lot of times where leaders are blaming organizational groups, teams, people for failure to execute or follow through, when really they should be looking at themselves and the systems that they create that are causing the problem. Now, that doesn't mean that individuals can't cause chaos in the system. That's down here at the individual level. If we stay in the urgent and we go down here to the individual, here's another pattern I see a lot. Maybe a senior leader feels some pressure, maybe from the board, maybe from the market, maybe because they want a feather in their own cap. So whatever the reason for the pressure they feel, they make a big call. Fast and decisive, bold. Maybe it's a reorg. Maybe it's a new initiative, a new priority. But 3 months later, everything shifts again. That isn't agility. That's not necessarily good leadership. That is impulsivity. Leaders create the culture. Leaders create the vibe. Impulsive leaders create urgent chaos. People stop trusting direction because the direction keeps changing. So that's impulsivity. If we go now, keeping the individual source, the manifestation a little quieter, this is what I call avoidance. Not any less damaging, but it is quieter. A frontline manager might know there's a problem, but they don't want to escalate it. Maybe they fear that they'll have to fix something they don't have authority over. Maybe they fear they'll be blamed. Maybe they think that they'll be able to fix the problem before anybody else notices. That's avoidance. A peer notices friction but doesn't want to rock the boat, or doesn't want to ask a hard question, doesn't want to call somebody out. A leader maybe senses misalignment but avoids the hard conversation. Nobody wants to manage up. Nobody wants to manage down. Nobody wants to have a difficult conversation. This is where workarounds appear. Manual effort has to increase and stagnation sets in. This is avoidance. Nothing explodes, but growth flatlines and everything feels harder than it should. And here's the important part. This isn't about labeling your organization. It's about mapping your friction points. You're going to have situations of all 4 of these conditions in your organization. Every organization does. It's about mapping your friction points. Maybe you have 20 recurring issues. Some are small dots, contained and annoying, not really going to bother anybody else. Others are big, structural, quietly draining momentum, wreaking havoc in your organization. Maybe you have one rogue leader that's currently being coached. That's a small dot down here in impulsivity. Maybe you have a huge incentive structure problem, driving behavior that no longer aligns with your culture or what you need from the people in your organization. That's a big one. The size of the dot matters more than the quadrant name. But this is how chaos becomes diagnosable. It's not emotional, it's not personal, and it's not random. In the next videos, we'll go into each quadrant a little deeper. And if you want help doing this inside your organization, this is what my 30-day diagnostic is designed to do. We map the dots, identify the real dominoes, and build a roadmap that actually changes how the system behaves. If you want to talk about having me come in and do that for your organization, you can book a conversation with me for 15 minutes at timewithmary.com. The important part is we do the diagnosis first. Prescription, roadmaps, plans, strategies, that all comes later. I'll see you in the next one.